Imagine waking up one morning to the headline that seems almost unbelievable. The United States wants to buy Greenland. For many, it sounded like a joke. Memes flooded social media. Late-night shows made sketches. People laughed at the thought of an entire nation being casually offered for sale. But for those who understand geopolitics, history, and global power, it was far from a joke. This was strategy. Calculated, deliberate, and long-term strategy. Because superpowers do not act without reason. Every piece of land they set their eyes on has a story, a potential, and a purpose. Greenland is not just an island covered in ice. It is a sleeping giant at the top of the world, massive in size, rich in hidden resources, and strategically located at the crossroads of the Arctic and the rest of the globe. For centuries, Greenland seemed irrelevant. Its icy landscapes were inhospitable. Its small population was often overlooked. But in the modern world, irrelevance can become an illusion, and the unassuming can transform into the most valuable. Greenland's position in the Arctic is crucial. As the planet warms, Arctic ice melts, revealing new pathways and opportunities. Shipping routes that once took weeks could soon take days. Shorter trade routes mean faster commerce, greater influence, and a chance to dominate industries before anyone else even notices. Greenland sits directly in the path of these emerging Arctic highways, making it a geographic gem with almost unparalleled importance. Beneath its frozen surface lies a treasure that cannot be seen with the naked eye. Rare earth minerals, uranium, oil, gas, and countless materials essential for the modern technological world lie buried under miles of ice. Today, much of the world relies on China for rare earth elements, a critical vulnerability for the United States. Control over Greenland means access to these critical resources, reducing dependency and providing a strategic advantage for decades to come. It is not just about resources, but about autonomy, innovation, and staying ahead in the technological arms race that silently defines global power today. Military considerations add another layer to Greenland's strategic value. During the Cold War, the island served as a critical monitoring post, detecting missile activity and providing early warnings to North America. The United States continues to operate bases there, tracking satellites, missile launches, and controlling the northern airspace. In a world where tensions with Russia and China are rising, Greenland is more than land. It is a vantage point, a watchtower, a silent guardian of national security. Control it, and you control an essential piece of the Arctic's strategic puzzle. The U.S. interest in Greenland is not about owning land for fun, nor is it about real estate. It is about power, influence, and positioning. Greenland's indigenous population, numbering just over 50,000, has lived there for thousands of years, enduring one of the harshest climates on Earth. They have a history, a culture, and aspirations for autonomy. Greenland officially belongs to the Kingdom of Denmark, yet it governs itself and seeks independence. The United States understands this delicate balance. Influence can often achieve what ownership cannot. By offering investment, security, and economic development, the U.S. positions itself as Greenland's most valuable partner, gaining long-term leverage without the need for conquest. Understanding Greenland's importance requires a deeper look at climate change. Ice is melting faster here than anywhere else on Earth. This melting reveals not just new trade routes, but access to untapped resources, previously locked under glaciers. Where once the Arctic was a frozen wasteland, it is now a field of opportunity. Nations around the world are watching, preparing, and vying for influence. Greenland is no longer peripheral. It is central. Greenland may appear frozen and isolated, but it sits at the intersection of climate, resources, and military strategy, three of the most critical factors shaping the 21st century. The U.S., aware of this, saw an opportunity that few others recognized. To the casual observer, the idea of buying Greenland seemed absurd, even comical. To strategists, it was a move of foresight, a signal to the world about America's awareness of the coming geopolitical shifts. Trade, technology, and defense intersect in ways that make Greenland invaluable. Rare earth minerals under its ice are essential for everything from smartphones to missile systems. Oil and gas deposits are becoming increasingly important as energy demands rise. Militarily, the island is a forward post, providing surveillance, early warning, and control of the Arctic airspace. Climate change, far from diminishing Greenland's importance, is enhancing it, unlocking access to resources, trade routes, and strategic positions that have been frozen for centuries. Greenland has gone from a silent, overlooked giant to a focal point of global strategy. The U.S. interest in Greenland also reflects a broader understanding of global competition. Russia is increasingly militarizing its Arctic territory, building bases and deploying forces. China, calling itself a near-Arctic nation, is investing heavily in polar infrastructure and resources. The Arctic, once distant and isolated, is now a battleground for influence, resources, and security. Greenland sits at the heart of this emerging conflict, making it a prize worth pursuing for any nation that wishes to maintain long-term global dominance. For Greenland's residents, this interest brings both opportunities and challenges. Economic development, security partnerships, and technological investment could improve living standards, provide jobs, and support infrastructure. Yet, this comes with the weight of foreign influence, strategic manipulation, and the pressures of global politics. The delicate balance between sovereignty, independence, and strategic partnership must be navigated carefully. The United States overtures were not merely about land acquisition. They were about building a relationship that positioned it advantageously in a region of rising importance. Even today, Greenland's ice and landscapes mask the intensity of the global chess game playing out above them. Beneath the surface, decisions made in Washington, Copenhagen, Moscow, and Beijing are shaping the future of this frozen island. Greenland is more than ice, more than land, and more than a distant corner of the world. It is a symbol of the intersection of climate, power, and strategy, a lesson in how nations view geography not just as territory, but as influence, leverage, and opportunity. As we continue to explore Greenland's significance, it becomes clear that this island is not merely a landmass, but a repository of some of the most critical resources in the world. The ice that has seemed impenetrable for centuries is slowly revealing the minerals and materials that modern civilization relies upon. Rare earth elements, crucial for everything from smartphones to military equipment, are abundant beneath Greenland's frozen surface. These elements, often taken for granted, are the backbone of technological innovation. Without them, modern electronics, renewable energy technology, advanced aerospace systems, and critical defense infrastructure could falter. Currently, the global supply of rare earth minerals is heavily dominated by China, a situation that the United States views as a strategic vulnerability. Greenland, in this context, represents not just resources, but independence, the ability to secure essential materials for its own technology and defense, without depending on foreign powers. Beyond rare earths, Greenland contains vast deposits of oil and natural gas. While climate change is altering the world's energy landscape, these fossil fuels remain a critical part of global energy strategies. As traditional oil fields deplete and nations compete for energy security, the potential of Greenland's reserves becomes more than an economic factor. It is a strategic asset. Control or influence over these resources provides leverage not only for energy supply, but also for political and economic negotiations worldwide. For the United States, Greenland represents an insurance policy for both economic stability and energy independence in the decades to come. The military dimension of Greenland's importance is equally compelling. During the Cold War, Greenland was a key location for monitoring Soviet missile activity. Bases such as Thule Air Base became vital for early warning systems, giving the United States the ability to detect missile launches and maintain readiness against potential threats. Today, as tensions between the United States, Russia, and China increase, Greenland retains this strategic significance. The Arctic is becoming a new theater of geopolitical maneuvering. Russia has fortified its northern territories, expanding military presence and deploying advanced systems. China, although not geographically an Arctic nation in the traditional sense, has invested heavily in polar infrastructure, research, and potential shipping routes. In this evolving landscape, Greenland provides a critical vantage point. It is not merely a defensive asset. It is a platform from which the United States can monitor and influence activity across the Arctic. Shipping routes are another factor that elevates Greenland's strategic importance. As global warming melts polar ice, the Arctic Ocean is opening pathways that could dramatically shorten maritime travel between continents. Routes that once took weeks may now take days, reshaping global trade and commerce. Greenland sits at the crossroads of these potential routes, providing not only access, but also influence over the movement of goods, energy, and resources. In a world where time is money and control over logistics can determine economic dominance, Greenland is far more than a distant frozen island. It is a gatekeeper of the future. The concept of influence over Greenland is also intertwined with the island's population and governance. Though sparsely populated, Greenland has its own government and is technically part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Its residents, primarily Inuit communities, have lived there for thousands of years, developing cultures, traditions, and survival skills suited to one of the harshest environments on Earth. Any international strategy involving Greenland must consider these people and their aspirations. Offering investment, security, and development opportunities is a way for powerful nations like the United States to gain influence without overt control. It is a strategy of persuasion and partnership rather than outright conquest, demonstrating that modern geopolitics often relies on relationships and agreements more than force. Economic considerations extend beyond mere resource extraction. Greenland's development potential in mining, research, and infrastructure is substantial. International companies are increasingly interested in the island's untapped opportunities, from resource extraction to scientific research in climate, geology, and oceanography. The United States, recognizing this potential, sees Greenland not only as a source of raw materials, but also as a hub for research and technological advancement. Investments in Greenland could facilitate new discoveries, expand scientific knowledge, and provide strategic leverage in global negotiations on climate, resources, and security. The Arctic's changing climate also amplifies Greenland's significance. Melting glaciers and shifting ice patterns are not merely environmental phenomena. They are catalysts for geopolitical transformation. As ice recedes, new lands and passages emerge, altering maps, trade routes, and national interests. Greenland, with its vast ice sheets and strategic location, becomes central to these developments. Nations that ignore these changes risk losing influence over a region that will increasingly shape global politics, economics, and defense. For the United States, Greenland is a way to anticipate and adapt to these shifts, ensuring that it maintains strategic advantage in the decades to come. Looking at Greenland through the lens of global competition, the stakes become even more apparent. Russia-by increased military activity in the Arctic reflects its recognition of the region's growing importance. China's investments in polar research and infrastructure signal its intent to gain a foothold in Arctic affairs. The United States, historically dominant in the Western Hemisphere and globally influential, cannot afford to cede influence in such a strategically crucial area. Greenland is not about conquest. It is about positioning, leverage, and foresight. Those who act early gain advantage, and those who hesitate risk falling behind. Greenland's resources, strategic location, and climate-driven transformations are all interwoven with its history. For centuries, it was a land ignored by most, known primarily to indigenous populations and a few explorers. Today, it has become a focal point of global interest, a place where environmental change meets geopolitical strategy. The United States overtures, often publicly ridiculed, reflect a deep understanding of long-term planning. Greenland offers the opportunity to secure influence, access resources, and maintain a strategic advantage over competitors who may seek the same. In essence, it is a lesson in foresight, strategy, and the long game that defines international power. Beyond the strategic, military, and economic dimensions, Greenland's allure also stems from its symbolic value. Possessing influence over Greenland signals a nation's capacity to think decades ahead, to anticipate change, and to act decisively. It demonstrates an understanding that geography, climate, and resources are not static. They evolve, and those who can interpret and act upon these changes shape the future. For the United States, Greenland is a clear example of this principle, a place where foresight and strategy converge to create opportunity. In sum, the U.S. interest in Greenland cannot be dismissed as a whim or a bizarre headline. It represents a calculated understanding of geography, climate, resources, and military strategy. Greenland is central to emerging Arctic trade routes, rich in untapped minerals and energy resources, and positioned as a critical military vantage point. The island embodies the intersection of environmental change, technological necessity, and geopolitical strategy. Understanding Greenland's importance is understanding how modern superpowers navigate the world, with patience, foresight, and precision. So, why did the United States want Greenland? It wasn't about a real estate deal or a headline-grabbing stunt. It was about strategy, foresight, and influence. Greenland is more than ice, more than land, and more than a distant island. It is a symbol of the future, a crossroads of resources, climate, military strategy, and global power. Those who recognize its value today will shape the world tomorrow. The story of Greenland reminds us that the world is always moving, always changing, and that influence often comes not to those who react fastest, but to those who plan the longest. As ice melts and the Arctic opens, the questions remain: who will control the trade routes? Who will benefit from the hidden resources? And ultimately, who will hold the power in the Arctic as the planet changes? Greenland's story is far from over, and the answer will shape the balance of the 21st century. Remember, this is more than geography. This is about vision, strategy, and the silent moves that determine the future. Greenland isn't not just a piece of ice. It is the chessboard where nations play for global dominance. And the moves being made today will echo for decades to come.